You're listening to Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and friends. And here's Russ.
Hey, welcome back to Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and friends. It's always a great time to introduce people like Courtney and Diana Peters to our real estate family. And most importantly, what I love about those scenarios is that they're completely inspirational to so many people, especially in North Central Washington, that, you know, this land of COVID's made it difficult. It's not a normal scenario where you can just go get a side gig bartending or a side gig making some extra money. But real estate really can be a vehicle that transforms your life, whether you want to be a referral agent or transition out of your current job into a full-time job. There's two amazing ladies that I feel very lucky to have on board. I got Michael Maher now with Prime Lending in our fourth segment. We always talk about finance and lending. How you doing, Michael?
Good, Russ. How you doing?
Great. You know, busy. Right? Busy. I thought maybe we could dive into a few things. Now, one of the things we talked about, we always talk about, but we've been talking about a lot, is this appreciation that we're experiencing. Could you explain to people what some of the opportunities are with you and Prime Lending with an equity margin that continues to increase almost at a monthly basis?
Definitely. Yeah. So it seems to be that, I mean, we don't know when this might slow down or if it's going to, because of how many people are mass exiting the west side and coming over to North Central. And with that and all the appreciation we're seeing, it's given people a lot of value in a short amount of time. Even people that maybe put minimum down 1-2 years ago have possibly 20% or more equity in their homes, which opens up some unique opportunities for them. And I'm working with quite a few families right now that are not only buying second homes, but also buying investment properties to take advantage of these low rates. And they're utilizing the equity that they've built over the last few years in their primary residences or even their second homes, and taking that money and using it as a down payment to put down on, you know, other real estate. So that can come in a few different forms. It can either be something as simple as a cash out refinance, where basically you're actually pulling money out of the equity of your home and you're restarting and you're re-amortizing your loan either to a 30, 25, 20, or 15-year mortgage, and you're actually getting that money in cash and it's deposited into your bank and you can utilize it however you want at that point. A way that you can utilize but equity a little bit easier, maybe not as in depth as re-amortizing a loan and restarting on a loan, is getting a home equity line of credit, where you actually have a second loan on your home for X amount of dollars. And then you can actually pull from that equity line of credit anytime you want and have the cash to utilize it to make home repairs, buy an investment property. There's kind of the sky's the limit that you can do with it, but it's giving a lot of these people right now a unique opportunity to take advantage of that in such a low rate environment. So the money is, I mean, after write-offs, you know, consult a CPA first, but it can almost be free money at this point.
Yeah, you know, one of the things I hear a lot is, well, if I sell, for example, I have to buy, and so I'm just going to have to pay retail. Or if it's maybe I'm late to the party, and maybe if I pull that money and I go buy something, it's going to crash. Well, that could be true, but here's what I say. It's really driven by Econ 101, supply and demand. And if you think about Chelan County, it's approximately 88% owned by the government. That means there's only about 12% available lands for investment. Then you have infrastructure, topography, zoning, all of these supply constraints, governmental agencies. Okay, so that narrows down the developed potential of land to a very finite amount of real estate. And like the grandpappies always say, you know, they ain't making any more dirt, right? And
right, yeah.
when you offset that with, I don't know, millions of people that have just been told they can work where they play because our employers are now embracing in the post-COVID technology adoption, you can now work remotely. Not everybody, but a lot of people. So when you look at that basic supply and demand curve, I don't know where we're going to end up, But I know this, real estate, since I've been in the North Central Washington area in the Lake Chelan Valley, it's never really gone down that much. And if it did, it was in the Great Recession and it was temporary. So over the long run, I think you're going to be in good shape by tapping that equity and then going to prime lending to borrow money at literally historical low rates.
Yeah, definitely. And just so long as you're utilizing the equity in a, responsible manner and not, maybe treating it like a credit card or buying side-by-sides or quads and things like that. I would never usually encourage someone to do that. But if you're utilizing it in a good, responsible way with everything that's going on in this area, I mean, the opportunity is truly endless.
You bursted my bubble, man. I was heading to the casino with my equity. What the heck? I thought roulette was a good investment. Dang it. What the hell? I was watching YouTube videos all morning.
Put it all on black, man. Just put it all on black.
There you go. Double up.
Right?
When I play blackjack, I always tell the dealers, all right, guys, if we win 237 hands in a row, I'll buy you a new car.
I like it.
And I usually lose about two or, win about two. The other thing that we talked about because of the appreciation, the jumbo loans. Maybe you could explain to people that aren't familiar with that terminology what a jumbo loan is and what's changing about it.
Definitely. So what a lot of people may not realize about loans and the different loan types out there's kind of the big four. There's conventional, FHA, VA, and USD. I won't go into the specifics on them, but on conventional, there's an actual loan limit for every county in the state and actually in the country. It's usually determined on the average medium income, the average price. There's a few factors that go into determining what that max loan amount you're allowed to have before it reaches jumbo territory. So in Chelan and Douglas County right now in 2020, that loan amount is $510,400. So a loan amount for a standard loan cannot go over that. You can still get a loan if you have a loan that goes over that, but then it pushes you into jumbo territory. And what jumbos are is they are a non-conforming loan, so they don't have to abide by typical Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac guidelines. And with that, they can do some creative things that a normal loan may not do. However, on the flip side, they tend to be a little bit more strict, and they really value people that have money in the bank and reserves to show that they can continue making the payment. So with jumbo, when COVID first hit and this entire thing happened and kicked off, most jumbo loans went away, and they were gone, and people could not get them for a while. They've since, because we've kind of stabilized and things are normalized a little bit, they're starting to make a comeback, and we actually were only allowing 20% downs on jumbos, or the jumbos, the investors themselves were only allowing, but we actually recently just got word that we now have a 10% down back. And who knows, up until that point, there were some 5% jumbos that we're allowing. So those haven't made a comeback yet, but 10% is awesome. Because if somebody had a loan and those 10% weren't down, you were having to get a second loan on the property, and then you were having two payments versus having just one 10% down jumbo that allows you to just have one payment with a lower interest rate. So it's good news with appreciation. Also the good news is that typically on a yearly basis, the loan amounts change, and if an area is exploding like North Central Washington, I would assume, and all signs would point to those loan limits increasing as they did last year as well. So let's hope that continues to happen. But the benefit is there are options out there for people that are purchasing in that higher price range to get a loan and not need to jump through too many hoops to acquire them.
Yeah. One of the things we're also seeing is the appraisals are, because of this appreciation, we've talked about it many times, but it continues to be a challenge for what I see. Two things. One is we don't have enough appraisers in our area to do it. And so they're consequently, with all the refinances and all the purchases and in the politest term, the invasion of buyers from the west side of the Cascades and other places in the country to the northwest, we're struggling. And those appraisers, they tend to look in the rearview mirror and we tend to look in the front windshield. And it's hard for them because they are historians and we are more on the front edge of that market. So what are some of the tricks or tips that you would recommend, whether it's VA, FHA, USDA, conventional, or jumbo, to at least get geared up for or create the right expectation around the challenge of appraisers?
Yeah, so when it comes to appraisers, number one is just making sure that we as the lender are upfront with who we're asking to do the appraisal and figuring out what their timeline is. The values are never discussed. It's mainly just a timeline and figuring out, because there's such a limited amount of them, what are we looking for turn times, and really figuring that out with them so that they are able to accept the order and get it back in a reasonable amount of time, and also so that the appraiser is not, or so that report is not outsourced to more of a generic appraisal company, which could potentially have a 60 to 90 day turn time. One other thing that I've had some luck with is some agents like to kind of do some homework up front and maybe get some comps that might be selling and closing around the time that appraiser might be going out, and they may not catch them. They usually do a pretty good job at grabbing those, but if you're aware of some that might be closing in the area that support a value that the appraiser may not, see at that time, you can always, when they're going up and you show up with your buyers, potentially offer them, hey, I'm just making sure that you were aware that this particular home was closing in the area, and they probably are, but you never know. Because like you said, they are historians, and we've had it in the past where they may have not caught on to a certain home that was about to close. Maybe it was closing in a couple days, and they could use it as a comp to support a more increased value because of how on a monthly basis everything's appreciating.
Yeah, exactly. Well, as we're coming to the end of the segment, it's all interesting. We're in a unique time in the land of COVID. I appreciate you calling in, Michael, with Prime Lending. What's the best way to get hold of you?
Yeah, 425-760-8824.
All right, sounds good. Hey, thanks for tuning in to another show. Take a deep breath, throw the phone in the drawer, get outside, smell some fresh air, and maybe show each other some grace and forgiveness once in a while, because it is an interesting time. Have a great day.
It's a bright new day, just came my way. Bought a new home, yeah, home, sweet home, oh, home, sweet home. Keller Williams, I love my dream home, home, sweet. Oh,